like thank all you guys that came out tonight. This is pretty cool. When I first got, my name is Brian Lack, by the way, I'm a football coach. And one of the first emails I sent when I got the job was Brian and said, what do we need to do for our pregame meals? How can we make them even better? And I, literally one of the first emails I sent when I got that job. And then this off season, really during the season, just constantly thinking what we can do better, and just looking at the guys, not just on the football team, but in the school, said, I think we can get so much better to take care of our bodies. And so I reached out to Ryan again, because why not take advantage of one of the best resources we have here at Highlands, and that's a nutritional expert who's invested in school at Graduate Highlands, girls soccer coach at Highlands, kids at Highlands, and is willing to do all this stuff. So he's taken time out of his day, volunteered to come here and give some awesome stuff to you guys, and also going to just make it better. And like I've been telling anybody to listen, it's not just so much for the football team, the basketball team, the soccer team, or whatever team. These are decisions you're going to make for the rest. That's going to impact your life. It's your body that you're going to have forever, and how you wake up in the morning, how you feel, and all those different things we know about now. These choices you make now can set patterns and decisions in a lifestyle that it can make you have a really healthy, happy life. So yeah, it's going to help you for sports, but I just think taking advantage of this kind of stuff is just good life decisions. So Brian Weavery's here, and he's going to give you lots of great stuff, and we'll be out there. Let's talk.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. One of my favorite things to do is present. And the reason I like to present is because I was in your shoes one day, and I wanted to be the best at the sports that I played. And we had questions, how do we do it, how do we get there? And we had answers. You got to eat more, nutrition's important, sleep's important. And what did that mean? What did that mean to me when I was your age? It didn't mean anything. And why did it not mean anything? Because the main question, why, was not answered for me. If you told me you need to sleep more, why? Well, you just have to. It's healthy. You need to eat better. Why? Well, it's healthy. You need to eat more. Why? If you understand the whys, you will follow the program, I promise you. And that's what I'm here to do today, is go over the whys, okay? I want to first start by telling you, when I meet with an athlete, the first thing I tell them is, you have a number. And what does that number mean? That number is your weight. What is the heaviest that you can play at and still be fast, still be quick? Actually, can you get faster playing at that heavy weight? Can you jump higher? What is that weight for you? Every sport, every position has a weight. When I work with these professional athletes, that's the first thing I tell them. What's the weight? And they say, well, I want to put on 30 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know you will play better at that weight? So before I go into that, how you can get to that weight that's going to make you most successful at your sport, what you've got to ask yourself is, have I ever gone up in weight? How did I play at that weight? Have I gone down in weight? How did I play at that weight? Where does the coach want me, right? If we're talking football, does he want a quicker offensive line? Does he want bigger? I can give you an example. I can remember when Notre Dame, Coach Kelly went to Notre Dame, and I had about 10 different linemen calling me, flipping out. He went in on his first day and he said, if you are over 18% body fat, you're not playing here at Notre Dame. Now, a coach before that was telling them all, you need to be 300 pounds, you need to be 290, you need to be 320. And I work with most of all of those guys to get them at those weights. Now, a new coach steps in and he says, I want a quicker, faster offensive line, defensive line. He said, we're going to do this based on speed. And he had a whole different concept of what he wanted his team to be. So those are things that you need to, as a student, you need to work with your coach, figure out what position you'll be playing, work with your coach, talk to your parents about it, and find out what weight you can play at the most. So what we do is we get people to that weight, and then we also work with, when I say we, I am a company called WeFit. So if they're doing athletic training down at our place, what we're doing is we're getting them to these weights, right? And we are doing simple tests that replicate their sport. It might be a cone drill, it might be a 10-yard dash, 20-yard dash, 30-yard dash, right? And then we're just timing. Are they getting faster? Are they getting quicker? And if they are, can we put more weight on them? And can they continue to get faster and quicker at that weight? I'm able to talk about this. Austin Collinsworth came to us. I'll just use him as an example. He went to Highlands High School, came to us about 185 pounds, and said, what weight do you think you can play at? What do you think you can be your best? We know you got to put some weight on going up there. These guys are a lot bigger. He played defensive backup at Notre Dame University. So he came in about 185, 180 pounds. We got him to 185, 190. His speed and his quickness just kept going up. 195, 200, 205. It just continued to go up. We got him to about 215. About 210, 215, and it stalled. We got him close to 220, and it went the wrong way. So we said, all right, let's bring him back down. So we brought him down to about 215, 210, and he played around 205. So we're going to talk a lot more today than just what is the best weight for you and how to get there. Everything I talk about today, if your goal is about gaining weight, losing weight, we're talking about good weight. And 20 years from now, like Coach Weinrich said, I want you to be able to use this to get to a healthy weight, to live a healthy lifestyle. So everything we talk about, all the science that we're going to be talking about today, can be used for the rest of your life. All right? All right, so, whoa, brand new marker. So a calorie. Definition of a calorie. Anyone? Anyone? All right, let's keep it real simple. Unit of energy. Can we agree on that? A calorie. When you eat food, you're going to get energy from that food. Anyone know what a macronutrient is? Macronutrients, anyone? Macronutrients? Come on, don't be shy. Macronutrients. So you can get your calories through proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. All right? So that's the definition of a calorie. Unit of energy, just for today's purpose. Proteins, carbohydrates, fats. There's a fourth. If you hear the term macronutrients, and I'm telling you this because if you pick up a fitness magazine, or they're using these words, macronutrients and micronutrients, and a lot of things we're going to talk about, like you should know what they are. You add water to that, and you have your four macronutrients. Micronutrients are all your minerals and vitamins. So, protein. If I told you, what is the macronutrient up there most responsible for putting on muscle, what would you say? Protein? Okay. If I told you that we know, a study that UCLA did, and they found that for every 10 pounds, when we get on a structured diet in this country, and that's interesting, the United States, we'll talk about that. So we get on a structured diet. For every 10 pounds we lose, how much of that do you think is muscle and how much of that do you think is fat? Anyone? Majority's fat. Yeah, I would have thought that too. And then when I started doing this full time about 15 years ago, I realized that's not the case. 6 of it is, but thank you, 6 of it is fat. So a lot of it's fat, but not all of it. 4 of it is actually muscle. And we'll refer to that as lean mass. So when you hear the term lean mass for the rest of your life, most people will use that and they're talking about muscle. Lean mass is everything on your body but fat. So it's muscle, it's organ, it's bone. All right? When we talk about your body tonight, and if you are done growing, when we talk about your body increasing in lean mass or decreasing in lean mass, we're going to assume that you're done growing, so we're talking about muscle tissue. All right? So we're talking about muscle tissue. If I have a client that is in 7th or 8th grade and they're growing, we got to look at how much are they growing, how much of that is bone versus muscle, based on how many inches they grow. So for all intents and purposes, lean mass, we're referring to muscle tissue. All right, so for every 10 pounds, we know 6 is fat, 4 is lean mass. A new study just came out. I can't find the study. All I know, it was in a Shape magazine that one of my clients brought in. It was in the corner, in a little trivia, and they used 10 pounds. And it said a recent study showed for every 10 pounds we lose, 5 is muscle and 5 is fat. So if you think that this might be exaggerated, it's not. It might be getting worse. I just can't use that study because if Miss Barnes asked me where I got that study. I can't find it. Miss Barnes is a great phys ed teacher here. So anyway, for every 10 pounds, 6 is fat, 4 is lean mass. Now let me ask you this question. So if someone is just eating on a non-structured diet, whatever they want to eat, whatever is put in front of them, and then they get on a structured diet, which one of these three do you think commonly increases on the structured diet? Carbs? Increases. It's not carbs. Anyone? Yeah, so it's, thank you for volunteering, but it is actually protein. So this right here, we're not eating a lot of. When we get on a structured diet, you name it, South Beach diet, the Atkins diet, any diet, just name it. It's the protein that will go up compared to it. So they looked at this, UCLA looked at this, and they showed that this was the macronutrient, that when we get on structured diets, we increase. Now, if protein is meant to build muscle, why is that happening if we increase our protein when we get on a structured diet? Why is that happening? Anyone? It actually does increase the metabolism a little bit, all right? Your body burns just as, a tad more calories to try and process a protein than a carb and a fat, but it's small. Yes.
If you go on a diet, you don't want to lose the muscle you have, so you have protein to keep the muscle.
So when you go on a diet, right, I'm gonna get back to that answer. All right, I hear what you're saying. Let me get back to that. All right, I will get back to that. Okay, so when we go on, repeat what you said again. Say it again.
Basically, when you go on a diet, instead of losing a ton of muscle because you're just eating less and you don't have the nutrients for your muscles to grow, you just up the protein and lower the other amount so that your muscles can get the nutrients and the other can just
Okay, so I was waiting to hear a word, lower the other amounts, all right? And that you hit the nail on the head right there. When we get on a structured diet to either gain muscle or lose muscle, most of the time it's to lose muscle. Let me stop right now. The word diet's not a bad word. Whatever you ate today is your diet. Whatever you ate yesterday was your diet. Whatever you eat tomorrow is your diet, right? The problem is when we get on structured diets, we fail miserably, all right? And we fail. This is going to set you up if you're trying to lose fat and put on muscle, or just trying to lose fat. This is going to set you up in a very bad way, and we're going to go over why. So you said when we get on a diet, we usually lower, and that's what we usually do. We usually lower something here, right? You guys, a lot of you are too young to remember this, the parents aren't. But back in the 80s and early 90s, it was this, cut your fats. And then we realized, oh, that didn't work. That was when we became the fattest nation in the world. So we said, okay, we need fats. Fats are healthy. Let's go ahead and cut these. And then we became even more fat, right, as a nation. Fattest nation in the world. So let's talk about this. We talked about the United States. When this study took place, here's what they found out. 95 out of every 100 people, and when I heard this, I thought, really? And you can look, the National Institute of Health has this study. 95 out of every 100 people, and it's an antiquated study, but what they found was for 95 out of 100 people, when they get on a structured diet, for every 25 pounds that they lose, within as far out as 18 months, they will put 25 back on. All right? So here we are. Listen to this. We spend more money in the United States on exercise, nutrition, supplements, diets, than any other country in the world. At the time of this study, about 12 years ago, time of this study, we spent more than the rest of the world put together on trying to enhance our physique for sport or whatnot. More than anyone, and we were at the time of the study the fattest nation in the world. We're actually the second fattest nation in the world. Who do you think the fattest nation in the world is? Anyone? You said it?
Mexico?
Yeah, how'd you know that? I just read that. Yeah, it's Mexico. Good job. So we didn't get any thinner as a country. They just passed us up real fast, right? I actually don't know why. People have asked me why. I don't know the whole, but here we are, we're the second fastest nation in the world. We spend more money on exercise, diet, more of our time, more of our obsession on exercise and diet, and we're failing miserably. Why are we failing miserably? Because we're dieting, and we don't know what the heck we're doing. That's why. We're dieting, and we are getting on these structured diets, and we don't know what we're doing. So we're failing miserably, right? I'm going to show you what we're doing. When we lose that 25 pounds, we're losing a lot of what? Fat and muscle. We're losing both. When we put all that weight back on, what do you think we're putting on? We're putting on fat. We might get back to the same weight, and we do, for the most part, get back to the same weight, 95 out of 100 people, all right? But our body fat percentage is worse. So what do we do the next year? Oh, I was so close. I just got mentally weak. If I just could have stuck with that. No. You set yourself up in a very bad position that you weren't mentally weak, you were physically weak. So, let's say, let me give you a little number down here. So we know for every one pound of lean mass, your body burns roughly around 25 calories every day. All right, and that number is debatable based on genetics and based on sex and based on age, but somewhere around there. So for every pound of lean mass, we burn around 25 calories in a 24-hour period. Now let's look at this. So all of you in here have what I'll just call a break even. And what that is how many calories in a day do you burn? How many calories in a day do you burn? And we call that your break even, meaning if you ate that same amount of calories, would you gain weight? No. You would not gain weight nor lose weight. So let's say every day you burn 2,500 calories. Okay? And it's important to know how many calories you burn in a day. It is. People say, oh, don't get obsessed with calories. No, it's important. It is important. And we'll get into how you can kind of figure that out. I will tell you right now, these little $50, $100 gadgets you can put on your wrist. When I have clients come in, I do the math, and then I ask them, what does that say? I will always take what that says, because that's attached to them. Because when they tell me their activity, right, they might forget that just because they have a desk job, that they're going up and down the steps way more than they thought. They might forget just because they have a desk job that they're coaching their son's Little League baseball team and they're on their feet for an hour every day. They might forget those things. So those little gadgets really can help. So your break even. So how many calories, if you burn this many calories and you eat this many calories, you will be the same weight. So what do most people do when they diet and they want to lose weight? And we're going to talk about gaining weight as well. You have to understand this to understand the other, I promise. So what do people do when they want to lose weight? You got to take in less calories, right? So for easy math, we'll just say 2,400. 2,400 calories. Over time, you lose 10 pounds. But you don't know 6 is fat and 4 is muscle. You just know that you're getting leaner and you're feeling a little weaker, actually. So maybe this is the first month. Second month comes and you hit a plateau. And I want you to remember this, because a lot of you, if you're trying to put on weight, you might be a lineman that needs to put on 20 pounds, you want to bulk up. And then when your football career is over, how are you going to get rid of it in a healthy way, right? So you hit a plateau. Why'd you hit a plateau? Right? Maybe you went to, I don't know, us old folk. We go to Jenny Craig or Weight Watchers and we say, hey, we followed the diet that you gave us for the first month, and I lost 10 pounds, and you ring the bell, and everybody's happy, right? And you say, but that happened in like the first 4 weeks. I haven't lost anything since. It's been 8 weeks. And so that's all right. You hit a plateau, you're going to get less food. Why'd you hit a plateau? Go ahead. Yeah, you lost 4 pounds of muscle. You lost 4 pounds of muscle, and how do we know that? Because science has told us that, right? So you lose 4 pounds of muscle. 4 times 25, that's 100 less calories. You've slowed down your metabolism. You lost lean mass. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. All right? You're going to hear this a lot too. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. the more calories you burn if you're trying to put on size, the more you get to eat. The more you get to eat, the more muscle you'll put on. The more muscle you put on, the more calories you burn. We'll draw that out soon. So here you are. You're not 2,500 calories anymore. You're 2,400. You've slowed down your metabolism. So you hit the plateau. And your nutrition counselor says, well, you got to eat less. You're like, well, that stinks because I'm pretty hungry. Right? I'm kind of hungry. So we do this again. Here we are, maybe the third month, and we lose another 10 pounds, and we know 6 is fat, 4 is going to be lean mass. Now you're getting real hungry. Real hungry. And you're working out, you're working out harder. You're like, what's going on here? And your energies are lower. Your energy's lower. So you lose another 4 pounds of lean mass, meaning you're only burning this many calories, 2,300, which is what your diet was. So here we are. You hit another plateau. All right. That is a recipe for disaster in so many ways. I'm about to explain to you why we are the fattest nation in the world. You could say all you want is because we have fast food restaurants in every corner. Right? You can say the school lunches are bad. I'm not talking about Highland school lunches. Right? This is why. This is why. And here's why. So, these people say, I was mentally weak. Right? You weren't mentally weak, bogus. You were physically weak in so many ways. It was physical. Physically weak. So, I know the first thing you're thinking is, well, I lost muscle, so I'm physically weak. Yeah, that can be measured. Everything I'm going to talk about here can be measured. You were physically weak. You lost lean mass muscle tissue, which means your strength went down. It went down. All right. Do you think if your strength goes down, you're going to be more motivated to go work out and exercise, or are you going to be less motivated? You're going to be less motivated. Do you think we can measure that? Do you think we can measure that? Yeah, we can measure it. We can measure it. In fact, this is January, New Year's resolution. Gyms are packed. The thought of exercise and diet actually in the brain releases these things called neurotransmitters. They make you feel good. Have you ever heard of them? Dopamine? Anybody heard of dopamine? Right. So imagine this. In the brain you have these cells. And these cells talk to each other. In between these cells, you've heard of a synapse, like a little electric current. All right? And when you sleep at night, and when you hear me talk a little bit about sleep, you're going to go to bed a little early, and you're going to put those phones away, and you're going to realize why in a minute. Because your mom knows, and your dad, they know that if you get more sleep, you'll perform better. Right? But I'm going to tell you why you'll perform better, and I promise you will. And you're going to put on more muscle and lose more fat. That's a fact. So, dopamine. So when you sleep at night, it's the only time that these neurotransmitters are actually manufactured. It's during dream sleep, REM sleep. Have you ever heard of REM sleep? Rapid eye movement. So it kind of looks like this. You're falling asleep. American Academy of Sleep Medicine, they call these different stages. You're falling asleep, you're dozing off, that's stage 1. Then you're in just a little deeper sleep, stage 2. A lot of people, you'll be in stage 2 more than any of the other sleep cycles. So you're at stage 2, there's some delta wave movement in the brain, and they're not so sure what stage 2 does for us. All right, there's theories on it, but then we go to stage 3. That's your really, really deep sleep. If you're reading an old publication, it'll tell you 3 and then 4. American Academy of Sleep Medicine now puts 3 and 4 together, and they just call it 3. That is your deep sleep. All right? What happens in your deep sleep? Your deep sleep. REM sleep. These things are manufactured. We're going to talk a little bit about deep sleep. All right. So, males, you were born with something between your legs called testicles. All right? They release a hormone called testosterone. Women have ovaries, they release the testosterone. Men, you release about 8 times as much as women. That testosterone is released 50% more when you're sleeping than when you're awake. This is when it's released, deep sleep. That's why we need to sleep deep. We need to get in that deep sleep. So think of this for your body. We also have a gland right here that releases something called growth hormone. All right, those two together are very, very powerful for the body. Growth hormone, some people look at that as like the anti-aging drug. It's what helps you put on that and testosterone is what helps. You go to bed with aches and pains, you wake up and you feel better. It's the release of that testosterone and that growth hormone working together, healing your body from the day. Healing your body, allowing you that muscle tissue to heal from your workout or your activity. All right, so deep sleep, that's why we need it. Now, I'm going to give you an analogy of how testosterone works, okay? Think of testosterone as, and you all have it, you have to. Think of testosterone as fertilizer for grass, all right? We'll get to what the food and the water is for grass, right? But think of testosterone as a fertilizer. You put it down, it actually allows that grass to bring in more nutrients from the soil and actually absorb more rain. And within a week, you have thicker, nicer grass. Best analogy I can come up with. If anyone can read more into that and come up with something better, let me know. But that's what those hormones will do for your body. Again, 50% more when you are sleeping than when you are awake. If you're sleeping more than him, you're sleeping 8 hours a night and he's sleeping 4 hours a night, it's a lot more testosterone you're getting. Does that make sense? So then we go up to this lighter sleep, but it's kind of deep. So why is it light? Well, you're more easily awakened during this sleep. But it's kind of deep because REM sleep, some scientists will tell you it's an amino acid, some will tell you it's a hormone. It's released in the brain and it paralyzes your body. And it paralyzes everything but your eyes. That's why we call it rapid eye movement, right? Why does it paralyze our body? Well, probably because if you're dreaming about doing something crazy, you're not able to do that crazy thing because you're sleeping, because you're paralyzed, right? So rapid eye movement. Now, why is that so important, rapid eye movement? That's where these things are made. Dopamine. There's another one called norepinephrine. You say any, norepinephrine. And there's another one we'll call serotonin. You don't even know what these are yet. So again, I haven't answered why for you. So you're probably not going to try and get more sleep. So let me answer why. Dopamine. All right. You just get done with a workout and you feel great and you're driving home and you're like, wow, I know on the days I exercise, I can think more clearly. I feel so much better. You'll study better on your test. You'll do better. You get your test back and you get a nice grade and you look at that sense of accomplishment. That releases something called dopamine, right? That motivates you to study more. Dopamine. What happens is this passes through this, and the more that passes through, the better you feel. Dopamine, think of dopamine as focus, calm, non-anxious. That's dopamine, all right? Norepinephrine. You're laying on the couch and like, oh, I need to go to the gym. I need to get some extra reps in, some extra sets. And you're like, I just don't have it in me. And then that Nike commercial comes on, or that Under Armour commercial comes on. It's that music with that high beat high beats per minute, really high beat. And then so that's the audio. And guess what happens when you hear that, especially if you like that? There's a reason, beats per minute that they like. The more beats per minute, the more this norepinephrine passes through here, right? And now you start getting energy, right? Why do you get energy? Well, when this neurotransmitter passes through here, it tells something called, you ever heard of adrenaline? You have these adrenal glands on top of your kidneys. And it tells these adrenal glands to release something called adrenaline into the bloodstream. That then tells the brain to tell the heart to pump faster. The heart pumps faster, you get more oxygen in your muscles, right? You just got energized. And that all started from a visual, whatever that commercial was that you were looking at, and an audio. That's norepinephrine. That's energy. All right? And then serotonin. So you just won a big basketball game, and you felt good about the way you played. All right? And you're down, and coach tells you, I'm proud of you. You worked hard, and it paid off. Feel good about yourself. That's serotonin. You're eating better. You are seeing results because you're eating better and you're exercising more. When you see those results, you start feeling better about yourself. That's serotonin. Why am I spending so much time on sleep? Here's why. That's when these are made, REM sleep. Now, let me really throw a wrench in this, all right? Like, you know what, I can live on 5 hours. I can live on 6 hours. When do you think you get most of this REM sleep? For your brain, when do you think you get most of this?
Last 2 hours.
Your last few hours, you're right. So, this cycle, it's not always this perfect cycle. It looks more like this. Maybe you're dozing off, you get some stage 2 sleep, you go into deep sleep. That's going to be longer, your first few cycles. You're going to go through those cycles. If you sleep about 8 hours, you're going to go through those cycles about 6 or 7 times. You're not even going to probably hit REM. You're going to go back up to 2. All right? And then you're going to go back down to 3. 3 will be shorter that next cycle. Right? 3 will be shorter. You don't start hitting REM until about your 3rd, 4th cycle, most of the time. Your last few cycles before you wake up on that 8th and 9th hour of sleep that you teenagers should be getting, right? You need more sleep than us adults because you're growing more and you're more active. It should look like this. 2, you probably don't even touch 3 and you go to REM. You wake up right here and you thought, oh man, that dream, I felt like it was about 45 minutes. No, it couldn't be 45 minutes. I don't dream 45 minutes. If you wake up and that alarm didn't wake you up and that's on your 8th or 9th hour of sleep and you wake up there, A, you're going to feel very good that day, I promise you. B, you're going to be able to focus, you're going to think straight. And C, you probably did have a 45 minute to 60 to an hour dream. Now, how does this relate to food? How does this relate to muscle? Well, all right. Good. With that real quick, a school district in North Carolina, it takes these people like an hour, the buses, it's really spread out. So these kids were having to get up at like 4 in the morning, get the buses, and their extracurricular activities, they weren't getting home till 10 or 11 at night, and they're studying. They were getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep. So superintendent put a rule in place, it was voted on, and it was no school before 9 o'clock. And extracurricular activities are done by 8 p.m. And the scores went up tremendously. Not only will the scores go up, you're here because you want to learn about sports. You want to get better at your sport. I guarantee you that you will put on more muscle. You will be able to think faster on the court. You will be more focused, all right, when it counts. And I know you will put on more muscle and you will lose more fat if that's your goal. And I know we all have different goals here. So get your sleep, put the phones away, and get to sleep. Get to sleep. You got to get to sleep. The National Institute of Health did a study, and you wouldn't believe, I don't have the exact numbers, you guys can look it up. The percentage of body fat, they did this huge study. They looked at, okay, these people get 8 hours, these people get 7.5, these people get 7, 6, 6.5, 5. For every half an hour under 8, the percentage of body fat that goes up is just ridiculous. Once you start getting down to that 6 to 5.5 hours, you're morbidly obese. Morbidly obese. Why? Why? Well, A, we know that your body's not releasing the hormones that it needs to release to make you feel better, all right? What are we going to do here? All right, here's why. There is a hunger hormone called ghrelin that is released in the bloodstream from the stomach when you are hungry. It's called ghrelin. Every time you get hungry, that's released. Now here's what they found. When you don't sleep, you don't get enough sleep. I never spend this much time on sleep except with high school kids. All right? But when you don't sleep, you don't have as many of these, do you? can't focus as much. If someone tells you good job, pat you on the back, doesn't mean as much to you. Coach is trying to fire it for the game. You're probably the negative one in the corner, being the downer. You don't feel good. You don't have as many of these because you're not sleeping, right? So what is being released from the stomach? Something called cortisol. You ever heard of cortisol? Anyone? It's another hormone, all right? It is a hormone. If you go down a roller coaster, it's what's released in your stomach. It's a stress hormone. Got it? You go down a roller coaster, this cortisol is released. It's what we call our fight or flight hormone. It was meant if you're in a time where you got to fight or you got to flight. You better get out of there. What's released with an animal, fight or flight. Well, you guys are having this released all the time, right? Because you're worrying about a lot more than just having to fight or flight. Thousands of years ago, it was I got to go out and kill for food or be killed, right? So cortisol is what was released. We're now just thinking about your exam, thinking about how you're going to get to practice on time, thinking about all these things, thinking about parents, thinking about getting to work. This cortisol is released. Here's what we know. When you don't sleep, you don't get these neurotransmitters that make you feel good. When you don't feel good, you have much higher amounts of cortisol. You're stressed. You're stressed. When you're stressed, what they found was really, really interesting. This is a fact. I'll tell you the theory. When cortisol is high, you're hungrier more often. When you're stressed, you're hungrier more often. The higher your cortisol is, the hungrier you are. Now, the theory of why this happens. We've been on this planet based on science, humans as we know it, for about 160,000 years. They can dig up bone from someone that died 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and they can look at that bone and the density of that bone and tell you what that person weighed. Then you go look at the records, and guess what? They're pretty right on. What they found was, before modern civilization, farming, no one was fat. They dig up bone, and they're given weights based on, they can say, all right, the person was this tall based on the length of the bone, based on the density of the bone. They can give an accurate, pretty accurate weight. There was no such thing as overweight people. So the theory, we know that's a fact. The theory is, what did people have to worry about for 159,000 years? What do you think people had to worry about? Food. Right? They didn't have cell phones, they didn't go to school. They had their shelter, they lived in caves. Food. That's the theory. A guy named by the name of Dr. Jim Stoppani. Some of you, if you're in the fitness world, might know this guy. He's kind of the head guru. Dr. Jim Stoppani, him and a team of scientists came out with this. There's a nice Netflix series on this. But what they found was, it's the only thing they could come up with. They're like, if we're stressed, we're hungry, and it has to be because that's the way we evolved. It was either, hey, there's a food shortage, you better go out and kill something to eat it, or you're about to be killed because someone wants to eat you or your food. That's the theory. So anyway, back to this. We know the more stressed you are, the higher the cortisol is, the hungrier you are. Now, when you're hungry and stressed, what can make you feel better? Sugar. Bad food. Okay. So all carbohydrates, we're going to get into this, they all break down into sugar. What we know, the ones that break down faster, you're getting more calories. Let's look at this. So you got a piece of cake. That's a terrible drawing. This scope would not be happy. All right. So there's your cake, 600 calories. All right, you're stressed. You just got home. Your basketball coach is yelling at you because you haven't been working hard. Right? You just got home and you're stressed, or you got home from work, had a long, stressful day. You're hungry and stressed. 600 calories. How many strawberries do you think it would take to get 600 calories? How many? Wow, come on, don't give me pounds. I don't know. How many strawberries? About 200. It's about 3 calories in a strawberry, so about 200. So you're stressed and you're hungry, what are you going to reach for? This. You know why? A, you're getting a lot of calories packed into something that's not good for you. So it's going to get rid of ghrelin a lot sooner. B, it gets you high. The little bit of dopamine that you do have, a little bit of norepinephrine that you do have, and a little bit of serotonin that you do have, it's going to push it through here. It's going to push it through there. Dopamine. You know anyone addicted to drugs? All right? If dopamine is what they are not getting enough of, their drug of choice will be painkillers, heroin, alcohol. Those things can release this dopamine as well. All right? Norepinephrine. You know a drug addict, and he's low in norepinephrine, he's going to go after any type of speed, caffeine on the low end, caffeine, methamphetamines, cocaine. That's going to be his or her drug of choice. Serotonin can piggyback either of these. That's why someone takes a painkiller and they like to talk a lot, right? They feel good about themselves. Dopamine lets them focus and feel good, and the serotonin, now they feel self-worth, so they'll talk a lot. All right, so there are 2 things that we know that release all 3 at the same time. These things can be released, remember, activities, right? You hear a good song, you're working out, and the beats per second are pretty fast, and people, your coach is yelling at you, your training partner's yelling at you, right? That's releasing norepinephrine. After the workout, you feel focused, that's dopamine. So activities can release these. So can drugs, right? Activities can release them, so can drugs. There's only 2 things that we know that can release all 3 of these at the same time. Any guesses? What's that? Well, sleep makes them. If you don't get enough sleep, right? If you don't get enough sleep, your chances of being an addict is higher because you're not getting enough of these, so you're trying to push through what you want, right? The little bit that you have, you're trying to push through, and you're trying to get them through other artificial means. All right? The study was just done recently, and the percentage of alcoholics and drug addicts, it was because of this heroin epidemic. And they're finding that these people have what's called sleep-breathing disorders. They're not getting enough sleep usually. And they're seeing a relation there between the sleep and these people that become addicts, drug addicts. But anyway, there's 2 things that can release all 3 of these at the exact same time. One is a drug. I would never guess it. Nicotine. Big tobacco knew what they were doing. Nicotine can releases all 3 of these at the same time. No other drug does. Right? The other thing is sugar. The other thing is sugar. Foods that break down into sugar very, very fast. It gives you a high. We can measure strength. We know that based on how much you lift, and if you start getting weaker, we know that. Or if you start getting stronger, that can be measured. Motivation, we can measure that. All right, I kind of skipped over that. When you think about diet and exercise here, you came here tonight, so thinking about it motivated you. Right? This is the January New Year's resolution. I can't wait to start working out hard. I'm going to eat well. That actually, just thinking about it, these things pass through. These neurotransmitters actually pass through. It makes you feel good. You get to this month, January, February, March, April, now you're in the parking lot thinking of 110 reasons why you're not going to go in that gym. Why? Well, you're not motivated anymore. You've had a negative, this has been negative. You're getting hungrier because you got to keep eating less. You're getting weaker because you're losing muscle. So now when you think of exercise and training here, it actually suppresses how many of these feel-good chemicals are passed from one cell to the next. Does that make sense? It actually suppresses it. Taste. All right. That cake right there, compared to those strawberries, is going to release a lot more of these chemicals. It does. That breaks down into sugar in the bloodstream way faster than these strawberries do. So remember, the bad food. It's going to take care of ghrelin because you got so many calories packed in one little small thing. It's going to take care of ghrelin. It's going to take care of cortisol. You're stressed. If you're a stress eater, this is what you need to pay attention to. You're a stress eater. You're eating it to get high. Get high. Here's the problem though. It's very temporary. When that wears off in 10, 15, 20 minutes, guess what you want again? Want sugar. Here's what happens. It looks like this. It looks like this. Let's say this is blood sugars that are stable. We're going to talk more about blood sugars. You wake up or you come home from work and you have that cake. Maybe you come home at 6 p.m. Right? Your sugar spike. You're going to find out why your fat cell absorbs it. Your brain releases all these chemicals, makes you feel good. Your body knows you just made a mistake. So now it takes all those sugars in your bloodstream and it goes to the fat cell. And then you crash. That's a sugar crash. If you're waking up eating a Pop-Tart in the morning, that's you. I feel sorry for your second period teacher. Because now you're down here. And that doesn't feel good. Your sugar levels are low, you're hungry, right? And you want to feel good. If you want to feel good, but you start getting this habit, you're that person that's going to reach for sugar all day. That makes sense? Now, we also know what other ways can make you, what other things can give that same effect up here? The same brain chemicals. ADHD medications, right? It's hard, if you're one of those kids that has that, and you're on a certain type of medication, it releases these things so you can focus and you have more energy, and it makes you not feel hungry. So if you are one of those, I always have to say to those kids, you don't eat when you're hungry, you eat when it's time to eat. And we're going to talk about when it's time to eat. Because if you eat when you're hungry, you don't feel that. Your brain's getting confused because you're getting all these pests. Does that make sense? Caffeine, nicotine. People that smoke a lot, they stop smoking, they put on weight, bad weight. Why do they put on bad weight? Because the nicotine was giving them the high down here, right? Making them feel like they were up here. They stopped smoking. Well, now they're going to go after sugar. They're going to go after bad foods. Right? The key is not letting yourself get down here. That's the key. You get down there, that's hard. That's hard. Okay, so these are all measurable. Strength, motivation, taste. You give someone a piece of cake in this first month when they're ready to start exercise and dieting, less of those brain chemicals will be released than when you give it to them the fourth month. You give it to them down here, their blood sugars are so low because they got to keep eating less and less to lose weight. You give it to them down there, the taste, it actually tastes better. That cake actually tastes better. They become a fiend for sugar. So what do you think they start eating? Here's what we know. Within 18 months, the average male will start eating 1,200 calories on top of his original break-even. You were eating 2,500. You're going to start eating, what is that, 3,700 calories. The average female will start consuming about 800 calories on top of her break-even until they get back to their original weight. But the problem is, you gave up on the healthy foods. Why? Not because you were mentally weak, but because you were physically weak and you wanted to feel good. Your blood sugars were low. You didn't have much energy. What's going to give you a temporary spike in blood sugar? Bad foods. What's going to make you feel good? Bad foods. So you start reaching for the bad stuff. That I need you to remember the rest of your life, guys. Especially if, I have these football players that come to me and they're like, Coach at Louisville wants me 300 pounds in 3 months. I'm like, whoa, you're only 225. Okay, you're going to be putting on some fat with all this muscle, right? And make sure you come back and see me when you graduate. Because I don't want them trying to diet like this and failing for the rest of their lives, all right? Because they just don't know. They just don't know. So remember this, all right? Remember this. All right. This is where it gets a little more interesting, I promise. All right, so I'm going to be real quick on this one. If you want to gain weight, you take in more calories. Maybe you're burning 2,000 a day, right? So you're burning 2,000, that's your break even. There's your diet. You're at a 1,500 calorie surplus. Are you going to put on weight? Yes. Will it be all muscle? No. Even if it's healthy foods, it's not going to be all muscle if you stay at that. It's just not. You stay at a surplus too long, you're going to eventually start putting on some fat that you don't want. You might not want that for your position or sport. All right? So if you stay at a caloric deficit, you're going to eventually lose muscle. We know that, science tells us. If you stay at a positive increase in calories, you're going to start putting on some fat. You just will. So what the heck do we do? All right? What do we do? All right. First, let's understand how these work. A protein. When you eat a protein, chicken, yogurt, fish, eggs, your body will use that food and all the nutrients. They'll go to different cells. But the actual protein from that food are just a cluster of amino acids. Have you ever heard of amino acids being the building blocks of muscle? Right? See a lot of heads, right? Building blocks of muscle. I was told that. Well, what the heck does that mean? Right? We're gonna tell you the why. What does that mean? So you go in and you guys are doing squats, and then you go home and you're like, all right, squats for football, squats for basketball, but arm curls for the girls. So you go home and you're doing arm curls, whatever. And you're looking in the mirror while you're working out. Guys, I know it. What's happening to your arm? So you get all these muscle fibers in here. Just like a bunch of rubber bands. You take your shirt off and you're in front of the mirror. What's happening? Why do they get bigger? What do you guys call it? Getting your what? Getting my what? Getting my swole on? All right, my generation, you say getting a pump. You guys say getting a swole on. What's happening is you're getting an increased blood flow to the muscle tissue. You ride a bike real fast, your quads start to pump up, your quadriceps. You sit here, if I sit here and do calf raises, my calves start to get tight. Why are they getting tight? Because my brain says you are doing damage to those muscle fibers. We call those micro tears. Just like if you sprain your ankle, what happens? It swells up. Blood, your brain saying send blood there to try and heal it. Problem is, if you have too big of an injury, the body makes a mistake, and that blood that releases oxygen stays there. You've got to put ice on it to get that old blood out to let new blood in, right? So we're doing what we call controlled damage, because I know all your coaches and they know what they're doing in the weight room. You're doing controlled damage to try and make the tissue weaker. A lot of people think you're getting stronger when you work out. No, you're getting weaker. You're getting a lot weaker. If you walk out of that gym and you just did legs, let's say you were squatting, and you can squat more as you're walking out than before when you walked in, then you didn't work out, okay? So you did controlled damage. That soreness is the tissue growing together. That's what you feel the next few days. That's the healing. So you get that pump going on, right? That blood, let's put blood up here if we can. That's your body's way of saying, right, let's get that red blood cells carry oxygen. There's a reason you have two lungs right here and a heart in the middle. You breathe in, your lungs fill up with oxygen, heart's in the middle, pushes that blood into your lungs, they fill up with oxygen, they go back to your heart, they come up this main artery here, and they say, all right, now we got to go everywhere. The whole body needs oxygen. Tie a rubber band around your finger too tight for a few days, you won't have a finger anymore. Everything needs oxygen. All right, releases the oxygen, comes back up through these veins, up to our heart, back to our lungs to fill up. That's how it works. But your brain says we need to send more of that to the biceps because you just did a bunch of biceps in your bedroom, right? That's important. If that blood is being pushed here, what's in the bloodstream? Proteins. When you eat or drink a protein, these clusters of amino acids, they're just floating around in the bloodstream. All right, so when you break down that tissue, your body sends blood there, and it's going to carry these proteins with them. These proteins will start to break down in amino acids. They get a little weaker as they get there. Some will stay binded together, some won't. Now they get here, and the more of these that you can get here, the more muscle you put on. Then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, maybe you did chest. You're like, my chest is kind of tight, kind of sore. And it's a little swollen. Still swollen. And maybe not as swollen as when you were doing it, but it's still swollen. Why? Because the body recognizes we still have to heal it. All right? We still have to heal it. Remember we talked about testosterone? I can feed most of you boys in here way more than I can feed your mom or dads. Mom or dad. Why? Because you have a lot more testosterone. So when you sleep at night and all of that testosterone and growth hormone is released, That is the fertilizer that helps make sure more of these get here. More of these get here. Now let's talk about that. Why during the day it might not get there? Go back. For every 10 pounds people lose on a higher protein diet than what they were doing before they got on an organized diet, they up their protein. For every 10 pounds they lose muscle, and they up their protein. What is a protein? It's a calorie. A calorie is a unit of energy. Here's what's happening to most of your proteins. If you're trying to put on muscle and you're getting weaker, or it's not happening, they're burning up in the bloodstream. That's what a calorie is. It's a unit of energy. Your body is using this for energy. Amount of kids that I've worked with, and they put on a lot of muscle, and then their buddies come down and say, oh, he's drinking the protein shake. I'll buy that protein shake. Oh gosh, because I know what's going to happen. Mom or dad's going to come down and go, this protein stuff didn't work. They didn't put on any muscle. In fact, they're losing muscle. Why? Because they're waking up, drinking a protein shake, and running out the door, thinking it's going to build muscle. Well, guess what? It's just going to burn up in the bloodstream. Your body needs energy. It always needs energy first. Remember that. It always needs energy first. All right. The more of these that get here, the more muscle you put. By the way, if you're ever reading a magazine or publication and they use the word protein synthesis or muscle synthesis, that's what they're talking about. Proteins breaking down, being pushed here in the bloodstream, and growing this muscle tissue. Okay? All right. So we need to take care of energy first. So how are we going to take care of energy? So you got proteins, you have fats, and you have carbs. Proteins, we want to build muscle tissue. All right, we need to make muscle tissue. We need to create more muscle tissue. Fat and carbohydrates, specifically carbohydrates, your body will use for energy. We want this to come first. If this comes first, if we have enough of the right carbs, your body will use proteins for energy. Got it? Your body will use proteins for energy. This is what it looks like. Let me draw a little picture here. So you have these fat cells. And this makes up fatty tissue. We'll say that's fat. And then you have this protein, this muscle tissue. Lots of cells make this up. And we'll say that's lean mass. Okay? We'll say here's more fat that surrounds that muscle. All right. So, fat cells, muscle cell. Muscle, is it hard tissue or soft tissue? It's soft tissue. If it's not flexed, it's soft. Why is that soft tissue? It's about 75% water. So it's mostly water. If it's not flexed, it's very, very soft. How much water should you drink? It's water. American Academy of Sports Medicine will tell you for every pound of body weight, it's a half of an ounce. Let me give you, especially you young kids in here, you high schoolers, listen to your body. You should be urinating about every 2 to 4 hours, right? About every 2 to 4 hours. If you're hitting double sessions and it's 95 degrees out there, you will be dehydrated if you listen to the American Academy of Sports Medicine. If it's a day off and you're resting all day and you drink that much water, you will be in the bathroom every 30 minutes, which isn't good because a lot of nutrients are supposed to go to these cells and you're just going to flood those cells. All right, so you should be drinking enough water that you're urinating about every 2 to 4 hours. It doesn't need to be every half an hour. It used to be people didn't drink enough water. What I'm finding today is people are drinking too much water. Yes, ma'am. So they say for every pound of body weight, it's a half an ounce of water. So I think we're coming up with the same formula. It used to be lean mass, and then they went to body weight. All right, so it used to be how much lean mass the person had. Now they're actually looking at the body weight. I think we're coming up with the same formula there. All right, so if I'm 200 pounds, I should have 100 ounces of water a day. A gallon is what, 126 or 128, something like that? Yeah. So again, if I'm out cutting grass and then coaching the soccer team, it's 90 degrees on that turf, and then I go work out, I mean, a gallon of water, I'm gonna be dehydrated. So again, listen to your body. So all this, so we got water in here, keep it full, just don't overhydrate, don't underhydrate, keep it full. Weigh yourself before and after practice, you should weigh about the same. If you're down 2 or 3 pounds, you're dehydrated, okay? So drink enough water. Here's where it gets interesting. What's going on inside this muscle cell? All right, First, we got to understand carbohydrates. Remember I said all carbohydrates break down into sugar? Right? They all break down into something called glucose. Glucose, we'll give that a symbol of a star. So you get all this glucose, and it's in your bloodstream, and it's saying, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? Am I going to go here to the fat cell, or am I going to go to the muscle cell? What determines where it's going to go? Anyone?
Whether you need energy to burn.
That answer is actually a good answer. We'll get to that. We'll get to that, because that is somewhat correct. It's the speed. How fast does that carbohydrate break down into glucose? So if you're eating Lucky Charms or oatmeal, or a sweet potato or a baked potato or French fries or potato chips, Pringles, you name it, fruit breaks down mostly to glucose, somewhat fructose, but all of these carbohydrates break down to glucose. And all those carbohydrates, every one that I named just now breaks down to glucose. Every one of them breaks down. Here's how it's decided. If it breaks down too fast, meaning you eat the Lucky Charm and all of a sudden your blood sugars are very rapid. You wake up and you have that Pop-Tart. Very rapid blood sugars. They spike. They increase. The fat cell will take the majority of them. These things are going to grow these cells. All right? If it breaks down too fast, it more than likely would go to the fat cell. If it breaks down slow, when you consume that quinoa or that brown rice or that oatmeal, that sweet potato, when it breaks down slow, meaning it's released slow, instead of this, it's released like this, which we'll talk about, it can go inside the muscle cell. Right here. That's where it gets stored. And there's a term for that. It's called glycogen. Glycogen, 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 glycogen. Why is it important that it goes here?
You're gonna burn it?
It's important because that's the direct link to the brain that says we took care of energy. When you take care of energy, now the protein that you have is not going to be used for energy. It'll make it to this tissue, which is nothing more than these cells, and it grows that muscle cell. That's the key. Get glucose in here, enough glycogen, let the brain know the protein's now, you can have what's great protein synthesis will take place. A guy by the name of Kyle Rudolph was one of my first, you can say celebrity clients, I guess. Right? Pro bowler, plays for Minnesota Vikings, tight end, went to Elder in Notre Dame, and came to me his senior year in high school, was about 190 pounds. Giant walks in my office and was doing inside my basement, right? He ducks in. I'm like, good God, this guy's huge, but he's just tall. He is tall and he is thin as can be. So I put him on a diet that I know is going to give him fantastic results. I'm looking at his activity levels, his height, his sex, his age, genetics. I'm looking at all this stuff. I put him on the perfect diet. Next time he comes, 4 weeks later for his follow-up, mom comes with him. She's not happy. You sold my son these proteins, these magical proteins, and he's been eating it, and he hasn't put on a pound, and you told him he should put on, because math told me what he should put on. I did the math. It's pretty simple. He should put on about 12 to 15 pounds. And looking at his genetics and the fact that that kid at that age has more testosterone in his thumb than I do in my whole body, he is going to put on a lot of muscle. Mom was not happy. I said, Kyle, what did you have for breakfast? Let's get your sheet out. Well, Kyle woke up and had a protein shake. I said, oh, okay. What did you have between breakfast and lunch? He said, I didn't. I'm like, why not? I said, your teacher would be cool with it in that period. Mom then says, because he's running out the door. He's waking up and running out the door because he's not getting up early enough. Mom now sees what he should be having for breakfast. She didn't see the program. He was 18, by the way. So anyway, I go, Kyle, what do you have for lunch? Are you packing like we talked about? You still eat? They used to have bad school lunches. She goes, no. He goes, I'm just grabbing tons of lunch meat. Thinking protein, protein, protein. I'm like, that's all you're having? Protein, right? Kid wasn't eating. He was walking around on empty. No carbs were going here. He was eating all protein. He lost weight. He got weaker. I said, all right. It's time to explain this to Mom and Kyle. Explain this to Mom and Kyle. Comes back 4 weeks, 15 pounds heavier. Comes back. 4 weeks after that, 12 pounds heavier. He comes back, next thing you know, over a half a year, he goes up to Notre Dame, 255 pounds, and he starts and breaks records. Only to have those records broken by one of my clients now, Tyler Eifert. I'm not name dropping, I promise. I just think that's very ironic and weird. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, that is what Kyle was doing. And that's what I know you high school kids would do, because that's what I did in high school before I understood this, because I didn't know the why. So it's really important that you know why. If it breaks down fast, it goes to the fat cell, and why, if it breaks down slow, it can go to the muscle cell. Have you heard of this F word called fiber? Okay, fiber. It's the plant-like material in these carbohydrates. All these carbohydrates are usually, fruit has a lot of fiber. All these carbohydrates like oats and wheat, they're all made, they all have something called fiber in them. So let me just draw this rolled oat, right? And you look at that rolled oat and you see this little dark thing. That little dark thing is called fiber, right? Just like if you look at a leaf and it kind of looks like that. They all come from these grains, all come from the ground and grow, and they have what's called fiber in them. Your body can't break that down. Anyone ever says, I'm constipated, and you hear someone say, constipated means you can't go to the bathroom, number 2. So if you're constipated and someone says, eat more fiber, your body can't break that down so it passes through you. And it's supposed to regulate you more, right? Because your body can't break that down, because it has fiber in it, that's a great thing. Your body's trying to break it down, but all this glucose, which we call starch, is released in the bloodstream much slower. Make sense? Releases much slower. That's good. Why is that good if it's released slower? We have not evolved as human beings to be able to eat this stuff, this fast stuff. Why? Because you have an organ right here under your stomach. It's called a pancreas. All right? It's called a pancreas. That pancreas releases something called insulin. Stay with me. Stay with me. So this pancreas releases a hormone called insulin. We'll give that a symbol of a block. All right, insulin. Every time you hear insulin, think of this. It's a taxi cab with a jackhammer on the front end of it. Just think of it. Taxi cab with a jackhammer on the front of it. Why? So you eat this sugar, this glucose, that carbohydrate. You got blood, you got sugars, glucose in the bloodstream. That tells the brain, pancreas, do your work. Unleash that insulin. Insulin is released in the bloodstream. So you got all these blocks. The only way for that glucose to penetrate that cell and get stored here is if it has insulin attached to it. So it picks it up, it takes it to where it wants to go, it takes its jackhammer out, penetrates that cell, and it gets here. But you just ate a Pop-Tart or a piece of cake, so you have way more glucose than what that pancreas can release. That pancreas can't release that much insulin. It wasn't meant to. You got so much sugar in your blood, so much glucose in your blood, so now the pancreas says, okay, I'll give you what I can give you. We might put a little bit here. What's left over? Body releases another hormone. I'm not going to tell you the name. It goes to the fat cell. Body realizes we have high blood sugars. Pancreas has no more insulin. Get rid of the sugar, and it makes a mistake. And it takes all this sugar, and it goes here, and it grows it. Now your blood sugars are low, so guess what you crave again? See that bad cycle, how that works? Felt good, released all the brain chemicals. Made you feel good while you ate it, right? Helped your stress for like 10 minutes. Now your blood sugars are low and you got fat. It's not good. All right. Type 2 diabetes. I would feel bad if I didn't tell you a little bit about type 2 diabetes. And I left here because it's on the rise so bad in this country. All type 2 diabetes is you keep eating these fast-acting carbohydrates, you're wearing out that pancreas, and guess what? It keeps releasing less and less amounts of insulin until it doesn't work anymore. And you get fat really fast. And then you got to take a pill, or every time you eat a carbohydrate, you've got to take insulin in a syringe and say, how many carbs are in here? I'll shoot that. I have to shoot that and try and give myself enough insulin to deal with these carbs. Type 1 diabetes, very unfortunate. Your pancreas never worked, or a virus attacked it, and there's other reasons that we don't know yet. Means the pancreas just doesn't work at all. It's not from a bad diet. Unfortunate things happen and it didn't work. So those people have to shoot insulin the rest of their lives every time they eat. All right, but we can become a type 2 diabetic based on eating a bad diet that's in all this processed food. Now I want you to hear this. All right, whether you're trying to put on tons of mass or trying to get leaner, trying to put on a lot of muscle, doesn't matter. What if the first ingredient, because it is the first ingredient in almost everything in that grocery store when you go up and down the aisle, not around, those are most of your good foods, right? But up and down the aisles, all those boxes, the cereals, enriched flour, enriched oat flour, enriched wheat flour, enriched, you name the quinoa, enriched quinoa, you name the grain that has this fiber in it, and they're enriching it. Does anyone here know what that means? All right. They added sugar? Okay. It breaks down into glucose very fast, just like if you ate white cane sugar, right? Here's what they did. They enriched it because they took the fiber out. They processed that grain, they took the fiber out. Why would they take the fiber out?
So preserve it.
That is one reason, yep. We like soft foods. You ever had a hearty bread and you can actually see the grains? Right? No, we like Wonder Bread. We like Pringles. We want it to melt in our mouth. We like soft foods. That's what we prefer. So they take the fiber out. The fiber, take that out. You gotta take it out. It's gotta be soft. They also know when it melts in your mouth, it releases all those brain chemicals that make you high. And then you pop like Pringles, you pop, you can't stop. Does that make sense? So when it says enriched flour, that means they took the fiber out. But with the fiber, there's some vitamins and minerals. So they enrich it by putting some of those vitamins and minerals back in. But the most important thing was the fiber that they took out. So our food industry calls it enriched flour. When you see enriched flour is the first ingredient, it is no different than white table sugar. It breaks down into the body just about as fast as table sugar. And it's going to go to the fat cell. Okay? So we don't want to, you see enriched, especially if it's the first ingredient, you stay away from it. Stay away from it. We want to see whole grain oats. We want to see the word whole grain oats as that first ingredient, or whole grain quinoa, whole grain whatever. All right, so type 2 diabetes, and it stinks because sometimes you think you're eating healthy and you might as well be eating sugar because you're eating enriched something, which is just like sugar. All right, let's look at this. Can you guys see this up there? Okay, so this scribble, let's look at this. What if you came here and you said, I want to bulk up. I got to put size on. You better have a lot of these right here, these slow-acting carbs. You better have a lot. Bulk up. If that is your good carb tank right there, you're going to err on the side of having too many. Think of that good carb tank, because that's where they go. There's full, there's empty, right? You better be eating a lot of good carbohydrates. Lots of fruit, lots of oatmeal, lots of whole grain pasta, lots of, if that's what you want to do, you better have a lot of good carbohydrates. When that is full, it tells the brain what? We took care of energy, so we're going to put on a lot of muscle. Homer Bailey came to me about 6 years ago, I don't remember. He's about 193 pounds, and he said, Brian, these people I'm talking about have given me the okay to talk about this stuff. He said, Brian, I'm here because I just don't feel like I did in college. My stamina is down. I said, all right, let me get some body fat measurements. The guy's 3% body fat. He has veins. The guy had an 8-pack. His veins going from here all the way down. He is so darn lean. I said, Homer, for your position as a baseball player who does not have stamina, he also had a lot of his joints were killing him, right? They were really hurting everything, even his hips. Everything was hurting him. His shoulder was really hurting him. His doctor said you have actually too much rotation, too much flexibility was the word I'm looking for, too much. So the doctor advised him, actually gave him my name, that's how Homer found out about me, and said I think you need to build up a little muscle and maybe a little bit of fat tissue. So here's what I did. I said, Homer, we're going to put on a lot of muscle, but we're going to put on body fat too. He said, I don't want to put on body fat. I said, Homer, we're talking about millions of dollars here, right? This was the year right before he signed that contract. 193 pounds. We're talking about millions of dollars riding on this. You know, he's only 23. He's only a kid at the time. I said, we're going to put on some fat, and here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to give you too many carbs. Now, someone said something before about getting fat because your body can't use it for energy. You're right. So you can have too many good carbs and still put on fat. I purposely did that to Homer Bailey. I don't want to give him this bad stuff. If I give him this bad stuff, the fast-acting carbs, they do not go here, so he's not going to put on any muscle. So I give him the good carbs that allows him to put on muscle, but I give him too many. I overflow his tank. Meaning, see all this glucose? Even if there's insulin attached to it, because they're good carbs, he's waking up having a bowl of oatmeal like this, right? Whole grain pasta, all of his meals, and you name it. Once this is full, there's nowhere else for this glucose to go but the fat. So the fat cell grows, and he put on a lot of fat too. He was about 193 pounds. He pitched that year at about 230. We got him up to about 240. He dropped about 5 right before because we found his number was about 230, 235. That was his number. He pitched. His fastball went. He wasn't big on the fastball, but you saw him that year. That's the year he had 2 no-hitters. I had those actually one year after another. He had a $110 million contract. He pitched more innings than any other Reds baseball player. His joints felt good because he had more body fat. Body fat lubricates the joints. He had much more stamina. Why? Because he had more body fat. And he was able to pitch more innings than any of the Reds, $115, $110 million, whatever he signed, you guys know. And that, now we know, he's gone through some injuries since, but guess what? He got paid. So, and he also quit following his darn diet after he got paid. But anyway, so if that's you and you want to bulk up, you have got to eat a lot of good carbohydrates. A lot. And a good protein source at each meal. All right? We know fats can help as well. We're not going to get into that tonight. But if you want to bulk up, fats carry about double the calories per gram than these two. So you better have a lot of fat in those meals too. Good, healthy fats. All right. So I will never do this, but here's the no-carb diet, just so you understand it. So you're not that person that says, you want to lose 15 pounds? Cut out your carbs. You cut your carbs out, remember what happens. This tells the brain, Dr. Atkins, he came out with a diet called the Atkins diet. He said, cut out your carbs, your body thinks you're dying. It does. Cut this out, because you're going to burn a lot of fat because the body thinks you're dying, but you can't die. Cut these out, you can't die because you're still getting proteins and fats. So he was right. Body does burn a lot of fat. It burns a lot of fat, these fat cells get smaller, and we lose a lot of fat. You think we lose a lot of muscle on that diet? Absolutely. The brain thinks we're starving to death. None of these proteins are going to make it to the muscle tissue that you just weakened. So you're going to lose a lot of lean mass. And you're going to become that statistic very, very fast. Remember I told you at the beginning of this, I just read in a Shape magazine someone gave to me that people are now losing 5 pounds of muscle for every 10 pounds we lose. So it's gotten worse. Here's why. Because I think more people are working out. More people are exercising now. So what does that mean? They're following a no-carb diet, because that's still the in thing. They're breaking down tissue, which means, you think that's going to heal back stronger? No, you weaken the tissue. It's going to heal back weaker. You know how many times that I overbooked myself at work? And it's time to work out. And I just said to my head, well, you dummy, you got up late and you had a protein shake. And that's all you've had. And it's time to work out now. It's your 12 to 1 o'clock time frame to work out. I will not waste my workout. I won't work out. I will not work out, absolutely not. I'll have lunch. I'd have lunch anyway, but I'll have lunch and I'll get some emails done. I will not work out because here's what's happening. I'm tearing apart this muscle tissue. There's no way these proteins are going to get there. This thing's on empty. Won't work out. Your nutrition has got to support your workout. Your workout has got to support your goals. Those 3 things have to be in line. So anyway, if this is on empty, you're going to lose a lot of fat. You're going to lose a lot of lean mass. You do resistance training, weights. On this type of diet, you're going to lose muscle. You're going to get weaker. All right, so what do we want to do here? What if you want to put on muscle and lose fat at the same time? I want you to know it's not hard. You're going to say, this is so much science. After this, I'm going to erase it and spend like 3 minutes, 4 minutes and show you it's going to come all together. It's pretty simple. And it's what we do with all these athletes that want to put on a lot of muscle and not put on fat. Maybe they want to put on muscle and they want to lose some fat. Right? That's what we do. So, okay, how many calories do you burn in a day? You got to start with that. Got to start with that. I can look at you guys and tell you it's about 2,500 to 3,500 calories. All right, but it's going to be different. Howard Rudolph is like this. He needs a lot more calories than I need because he has more lean mass than I do. So take that into consideration, okay? So let's say you take in about 3,000 calories a day. What if we did this? What if we did, because you want to put on a lot of muscle, but you don't want to put on much fat. And we kept you up here at about 4,000 or 4,500. That is a lot of food. And you're looking at that plate, and I'm going to draw what that should look like, all right? And you're looking at that plate. Now we're getting real. You're looking at that plate. You should have about that much protein. It should be about the size of your fist for most of you guys. All right? And it should be lots of fruits and vegetables. If I told you veggies just made you healthy, you probably won't eat as many. If I told you that veggies slice those proteins up more because they have a lot of fiber in them and let more of those proteins get to the bloodstream, and you'll put on more muscle, I bet you'll eat more. And that's what they do. All right? They have a lot of nutrients in them that you need to have. So fruits and veggies. There's your fat. Should be somewhere like that. And you're probably going to have fat on your protein if it's cooked in olive oil and maybe your veggies, I don't know. This is where your carbs, it should be here. Maybe 2 sweet potatoes. If you're really lean, you're trying to bulk up, maybe 1, and maybe 2. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe the sport you play is something like soccer, and you're averaging about 6-7 miles a game. You need the 2 sweet potatoes or a bunch of pasta just to maintain your weight. So you better get a bigger plate. And give yourself more carbs if you're trying to put on a little bit of size to get stronger and push someone off the ball, right? That's what you should have. Your good carbs, right? Your good, complex, high fiber, starchy carbs. That's what it should look like. Maybe breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then in between meals, you're finding yourself lots of fruit, maybe some protein shakes with fruit mixed in and things like that. All right? Well, if you stay up here, you're going to eventually put on some fat. If you're taking in constantly more calories than your body's burning. You're burning 3,000, you're taking 4,500, maybe you do that for 5 to 6 days. It is this easy. One day when you're not as active. So when you take in that 4,500, it's a lot of carbs you're taking in. You're filling this tank up, aren't you? Which allows you to put on a lot of muscle. So maybe one day a week, you lower it. And what are you going to take out that one day? You're going to take these out right here. One day a week when you're not active, cut your carbs down. Cut them down. Let this thing empty. As this empties, A, you're not going to bulk up and continue to put on fat because you're always full. B, what happens is the body starts burning fatty tissue. But you're not going to eat away at muscle. You're not doing this Atkins, this no carb, this paleo diet thing over here. You're not doing that, right? You're not on empty. You're just down like a quarter of a tank. You just cut your carbs down. Guy named, I said his name earlier, Dr. Jim Sapani, just did a huge study on people that eat like this. They call it carb cycling, right? And is it for everybody? Well, after reading that statistic, I know it works. I know it works very, very well. All right? I'm not going to keep someone up here forever. What he found was when you cut those carbs down, your testosterone increases significantly. We don't know why. There's theories on it. I don't have time to go into it right now. You can look that up. Why does carb cycling increase testosterone? So you're getting your body, your organs in your body to work for you. All right? So now we're down here. The body can burn fat. Then we come up here the next 6 days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We start filling this thing back up. You're putting on tons of muscle. You say, well, you know what? I'm already holding a lot of fat. I just want to maybe keep the muscle I have, and I want to lose some fat. So maybe reverse this. We stay down here for 5 to 6 days, right? Then we come up here for 1 day. Here. Right? So it's the gas lane. You're at the gas tank. If this is what you want, to put on some muscle and lose fat at the same time, right? Here's what you're doing. You're smart enough to let go of that gas lever so it doesn't overflow, like on the bulk diet. And you're smart enough to go get gas and not let it run out of gas like you would on this no-carb diet. That's all you're doing. You're filling this thing up, and you're letting your body use it through the week, and you're filling it up. Again, if you're the type of person that you're trying to bulk up and put on a lot of size, keep your calories really, really high. If you're the other way around, you keep them low. Now, here's what's really awesome. After about a month, you put on, let's say, 10 pounds of lean mass. I mean that too. In the first month, compared to probably how you are eating, you kids, you boys, you'll do this. Put about 10 pounds of muscle. Maybe, I don't know where you go. Maybe you lose a couple pounds of fat. Maybe you don't lose any fat because you don't want to. Maybe you put on a pound of fat because you want it to bulk up like Homer Bailey, right? So you put on about 10 pounds of muscle. You ready for this? Remember, for 1 pound of lean mass, your body burns about 25 calories each day. You put on 10 pounds of muscle in the first month. What's 10 times 25? 250 more calories you burn in a day. You just sped up your metabolism. 3,250. Now your heavy day can go 4,750, and your light day can go 2,250. You put on 10 more pounds of muscle, now you're burning about 3,500 calories a day. So it's like this, right? People that want to lose, people that do it this way, and they fail, they burn this many calories and they eat this many. Well, they lose muscle, so now they burn this many calories and they got to eat this many. And they burn more muscle and they burn this many calories, and they're not going to eat this many because they physically can't anymore. So they eat this many and they put it all back on in fat. Very simple, we know that. Trying to gain weight, you're burning this many calories, you eat like this, you're going to put on some muscle, and guess what happens? You're going to put on a little bit of fat too, maybe, and then you get here because you put on muscle. And then you say, I hit a plateau. You better eat more. But if you keep doing that, you're going to keep putting on muscle and fat. You're going to look like a what? Big power lifter. You ever seen power lifters? Right? They're big, they're fat, they're strong. They don't care how much fat they put on. They just keep eating like this. Right? So all I'm telling you, it's very simple. If you burn this many calories, how many days do you want to stay up here? And then every once in a while, let's bring you down here. And if fat loss is your goal, let's stay down here a little bit longer and then put yourself up here like 1 or 2 days a week. And then stay down here. Now what happens is you put on muscle. Now you can stay here. That's your low day, and there's your high. You put on more muscle. Now you're here and you're here. You're speeding up your metabolism. There's no secret. You put on muscle, you get to eat more food. You eat more food, you build more muscle. Right? Pretty awesome. All right, here's that 3 minutes I told you. This is what your day can look like. So we can put all this crazy science into one day. All right, we're talking about sports nutrition here. So I know I did not get into the vitamins and the minerals and things like that. But I will, if I go do something if I go do a talk at a business, it's totally different than this, right? If I do a wellness program. So when you leave here, I don't want you to think it's all just about carbs, proteins, and fats. All right? We are here because I was asked to be here to help you perform better. And how can we perform better? You got to find that number that you play the best at. What is the heaviest you can play at and still be quicker than you are now? Does that make sense? That's why we're here. So your day could look like this. You wake up here, you go to bed here, right? You wake up and you have breakfast. The old you does this. You wake up, you have breakfast, and you're running out the door, and it's, I don't know, Pop-Tart or a muffin. That cell might take it, and then you crash. Now you're down here, you don't pay attention until class. Good luck making a good decision there. Good luck. It's 6 in the morning maybe, this is 12. There's no way. You're going to be like me walking into a Wendy's if I go that long without eating. I'm going to walk into Wendy's, I'm going to have a milkshake and double cheeseburgers and fries. My blood sugars are so low, once I even see and smell that food, that's releasing all those chemicals in the brain, and I already lost the game. All right? I'm a fiend for bad food. You are too if you're down here. That cell absorbs it, and then you crash. And now you wonder why at 2 or 3 o'clock you want to take a nap. Because you feel that. Remember 5-hour energy? The tagline, no more 1 or 2:30 feeling or something like that? Was that it? 5 hours? Because they know how you eat at 1:30. No more 2:30 feeling. So you're like this. Good luck if you make it home for a good dinner. Maybe you're stopping fast food, and then you're like this. Then you start really loving the way that feels. So at night, parents, maybe it's wine that you're drinking. Kids, maybe it's potato chips. And that's how we eat. That's why we're the fattest nation in the world. Because once you get down here, it's very hard. Now, you wake up at 6 and you say, you know what, Brian said I should have carbohydrates that break down into glucose very slow. Because if I do that, now they serve a purpose. And the purpose is what? Energy. Because they go inside that muscle cell right there. And now I have a protein at that meal, and that protein serves what purpose? Muscle. Because that's here, these amino acids can get here and grow that cell. But by 9 o'clock, that glucose is now there. That's where I think it's important. And I gotta be careful saying this. All right, some schools don't allow it. Just did one at high school and I got approval first. I kind of forgot to do that here. But this is where a nice little snack around 9 o'clock. Keep blood sugar stable. Whether it's a protein shake, piece of fruit, whatever. Now it's 12 o'clock, you can make a good decision because you're not here. Now you have lunch. Breakfast, mid-morning, lunch. 3 o'clock, mid-afternoon snack, you get home from school, and you have something nice, healthy snack, you're trying to gain weight. This is maybe a second dinner, the dinner you had last night, tell mom or dad to make 2 of those. You have that here. All right, now it's 6 o'clock, you have dinner. If you're trying to bulk up, you'll have another dinner. If not, an evening snack, maybe a piece of fruit, some type of lean protein, something like that. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between. I wish I didn't have to come here and tell you to eat every 2.5 to 3.5 hours. I wish I didn't have to tell you to do that. It is not my rule. It's your body's rule. It's how your body breaks down carbohydrates. Right? The healthy foods, that's how they're broken down. It's about 2.5 to 3.5 hours. Now, the whole carb cycling thing, how could this work? I don't know. 5 days a week, whatever. You look at that bowl of oatmeal, and 5 days a week you want to bulk up, just double it. So 2 times the carbs. I wish I could tell you 50 grams or 100 grams. I can't tell you that right now. 2 times the carbs. Maybe 2 times the carbs. Lots of oatmeal, lots of sweet potatoes. I promise you, you're going to put on muscle fast. All right? Eat fast, too. You got to eat fast. It takes about 20 minutes for that brain to recognize what's in its stomach. So if you're trying to gain weight and you're eating, sitting there trying to slop down that oatmeal, and you're eating slow because you're on your phone, all right, your brain's going to tell you you're pretty full, and it's going to be sitting there and you didn't fill that cell up. All right? If you're trying to lose weight, eat slow. Trying to lose fat, eat slow. Let that brain recognize what's in the stomach. Got it? Eat fast. So maybe we do that, and then on the weekends, you cut those carbs down. It can be really that simple. All right. Remember the plate I drew. I call the carbohydrates the X factor. The starchy carbs are the X factor. That's what I want you to remember. If it's fat loss that you want more than anything, this needs to be smaller. It needs to support your activity, though. If you're running and you're doing a lot of activity, you still need enough to support that activity. All right? If it's you want to bulk up, this better be really big. The starchy carbs, those are the carbohydrates with the fiber in it, right? The starchy carbs, the oatmeal, the pasta, the sweet potatoes, things like that, quinoa. That's your X factor right there. Questions? Yes, sir.
If you're balancing the carbs and the protein pretty well, you got that part under control, what are the best sources of fats for the extra calories? You know, I mean, if we plot out 3,500 or 4,500 calories,
Right.
that's a lot of food.
Okay, so on this question, there was so much debate on this. A doctor from Harvard, go ahead and look this up and please read it. He said, we got it wrong. That's the name of his article, and he published it. He said, we've got it wrong. And he talks about how saturated fats, those are usually animal fats, fats at room temperature become solid. We've been told those are bad, those are bad, those are bad. Those are called hard fats. He said saturated fats raise our good hormones. And we know they do, all right? Here's the problem with that. Saturated fats with a lot of carbs, your body can't process them both. So the healthy fats you want on the high carb days, thank you for asking that question. The healthy fats that you want on the high carbohydrate days should come from sources like olive oil. Should be more plant-based oils. Okay? They need to be unsaturated fats. On the low-carb days, on the day where you're not very active and you're like, I'm going to empty this tank out a little bit because I don't want to put on fat, or if that's your goal, and you're eating a lot less carbohydrates, then the fats can come and probably should come based on his science and research, and it makes a lot of sense, should come from more saturated fats and what we call monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated and saturated. Those two will raise your good hormones, your testosterone. We know that. But they cannot do that if you have if you have too many carbs. If it's a high carb day, you do not want those types of fats. All right? His research, if you look at the diets based on his research, it was on low carb diets. Dr. Jim Sapani, I named earlier, he's the one that put all that together that I just explained. Does that make sense? It's easier too, because if you're taking this in and you're writing notes, all you gotta do is Google saturated fats. You have a list of them. Unsaturated, monosaturated fats, polysaturated fats. All right? But monosaturated and saturated can raise testosterone, but not with a lot of carbs. I would invite those on your low carb days, your lower carb days. So if you read like the paleo diet or the Atkins diet, there's a reason why they do all animal and saturated fats, because they're just low carb diets. But the problem is you stay that way forever, you lose tons of muscle, and you fail on those diets. There's a reason. Those diets, they're right. Those are the fats for those diets. They just need to throw a high carb day in there and give it a bit better fat. What else do we have? Yes, sir.
What's the best way to find your basic metabolic rate?
Basic metabolic rate, well, it's a formula, right? So it's going to be a little different for everybody, right? You're going to look at, first you need to know your body fat percentage. You need to know how many pounds of lean mass, how many pounds of that is actually muscle, all right? The muscle you can multiply by 25. The rest of that lean mass, you multiply by 10. How many fat pounds do you have on you? You multiply by 4. That's your metabolic rate. Now, how do you get that? You ever get in one of those bod pods, they'll tell you how much of you is actual muscle, how much the rest is organ and bone, and how much is fat. So lean mass multiplied by 10, muscle tissue 25, how many pounds you multiply, and fat you multiply by 4. Or you just put a Fitbit on. It gives you it's pretty accurate. I mean, I do the math, and then I look at people's Fitbits, and they pull it up on their phone, and it's really, I can tell you right now, from experience, it's very, very close. Yes, sir.
Would you put whole milk at half and half in this mix?
So if I'm Homer Bailey, I'm making my shakes with whole milk. All right? And again, I know it's an animal fat, right? But I'm only doing it for a few months. Only a couple months. And then right? So whole milk, he's getting extra calories through. I mean, Michael Phelps. Hear me out on this. And I'm glad you asked it, because this will make sense for a lot of you. You guys might not remember 2 Olympics ago with him. I know maybe the kids won't, but the parents will. You remember the diet he was on? It was like 12,000 calories. All right. The minute I read that, I'm like, this guy's going to do something special. And I said that too. I said that over and over. He's going to do something special. And I knew why. Because someone in his quarter understood this. And they said, you know what? I don't believe in undertraining. I believe in undersleeping and undereating. So Michael Phelps, you're going to sleep, get all that hormone release, because we know you get 50% more, and you are going to eat and give yourself, if everyone's training here, Phelps, and you train here, well, we got to support that with enough food and enough sleep. And that's what he did. Now, how did he do that? He got tons of fat in his diet, like whole milk. Now, why? Because he needed to have that many calories. 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrate, good or bad, right? It still only has 4 calories. 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. They knew that there's no way he could get 12,000 calories without taking advantage of this fat. So it was whole milk. He was cooking everything in oil, butter, you name it. They were hiding fat in all of his meals as much as they could. He couldn't do it. He couldn't get to that calorie allotment without taking advantage of a ton of fat. All right. So I guarantee you, right after he was done with the Olympics, he got off all of those bad fats. Those animals, he was high carb and high saturated fat too. But I mean, just enormous amounts of fats. Like I said, I did that with like Homer and Rudolph for just a few months to get him to that weight. And then we put him on a more balanced, healthier diet to maintain that weight. Questions? Anything? Just take 10 seconds. I just want to one thing I just forgot to tell you, because you're going to drink Gatorade and your mom and dad is going to go, that's terrible for you. Or you're going to drink some sports drink. Gatorade is what? It's sugar water with a little bit of sodium. Why sodium? Because that's what you sweat out. It's trying to replace what you lost. So sugar and salt and water. When I said that those carbohydrates always go to the fat cell, there is another place they can go. They can burn up in the bloodstream before they get to the fat cell, and they can be used as energy. So during an activity, a sports drink, and there's other things that you can have that have high glycemic gummy bears, right? And your mom and dad, they might tell you, well, you don't want the food coloring in that, so find a more natural sports drink, more natural type of candy. Those are the things, I let the girls on the soccer team know. I coach the Highlands Girls soccer program here. I'm like, make sure you're bringing a lot of water, and you better all have a Gatorade. You got to have that, because at halftime, after you run about 3 miles, that tank right there is on empty. It's on empty. I'm not going to have them go out there for 45 more minutes on empty. They will lose. So they better at halftime be downing a big thing of Gatorade or some type of sugary drink. All right, so remember, that is not going to go to that tank. It's just going to be sugar in their bloodstream that their body can now use for that next half. So make basketball players, football players, soccer players, all of you, right? There is a time for fast-acting carbs, and that's during activity. Gatorade was made for during an activity, not sitting around all day drinking it. Does that help? I'm sorry, I forgot that. What else? All right. My goal is that I didn't confuse you all here. My goal is that you take this simple. You think that when you walk out of here and you think of the plate. Lots of carbs. You want to see protein on there, a healthy fat source, right? And get on that scale. Measure your activity. Are you getting faster, bigger, stronger without putting on fat? If you're starting to put on a little bit of body fat, right? We cut down maybe on the carbs a little bit. I'm not there to help you one-on-one, so I'm trying to give you as much as I can. And that's what I want you to think. Just think of those plates. And think of your blood sugars. And that you better be getting something in you every few hours, because that's what your body needs, all right? Any questions? Anything else? All right. Sleep, eat, and train, and do your homework. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.